There are 6 simple tests you can do in your home to see if you're getting really sick or not. And these are the same tests that doctors in ancient Asia would use on their patients centuries ago. I retook this video about 5 times because I was having trouble explaining 2 very important points. 1, why is a white girl telling you about ancient Asia? I know. And 2, how do I explain that I am not crazy and this is very real? I promise. I am a woman of science. I have a science degree. First, let me answer number 1. Haitai, my name is Christal Burnette. I am a certified Yakuzen diet advisor, and I'm on the board of the Okinawa Blue Zone Committee and Okinawa Research Center for Longevity Science. So I have quite the background in Okinawan longevity, health, diet, etc. But I said a word that you might get confused with another word. I said certified Yakuzen diet advisor, not Yakuza. Yakuzen, not Yakuza. It's not the Japanese mafia. I'm sorry to say. I'm sure a lot of people would love if I was a Yakuza advisor. Now, what is Yakuzen? It is the ancient healing method using just food. Yakuzen is a Japanese word, but it originates and shares a lot of information with traditional Chinese medicine. But I bet you haven't heard much about traditional Japanese medicine, and I'm sure you've never heard about traditional Okinawa medicine, because I think I made that word up. Now, China, Japan, and Okinawa, because Okinawa used to be its own kingdom, you knew that, right? They used to trade a lot of information and food and herbs, and among that, of course, was how to heal the sick people. Now, here is the really weird and mysterious part. Researchers here in Okinawa have found that the traditional royal Okinawan diet is perfectly aligned with the Yakuzen concepts. This means that the food eaten by the royal family are perfectly balanced and were great for healing diseases, ailments, and preventing illness. How did they know that back then? No one knows. It's a little creepy how perfect it was. Now, since the royals were eating that way, it is a given that also the peasants, would you call them peasants? Regular villagers, am I allowed to say that? It was centuries ago. We're also eating like the king and queen, as that's probably who they looked up to, right? So it's actually found that Yakuzen is part of the origin of the traditional Okinawan diet, which, as we know today, is a blue zone longevity hotspot, and everyone wants to know how an Okinawan eats so that they can live a very long time too. But you can't just say they ate pork and purple sweet potato and then go along your way. It's actually a little more complicated than that. And one important point is that I said that this originates from traditional Chinese medicine. As you can see behind me as well, I have a lot of herbs. But back in the day, Okinawans preferred to use food to heal people more than herbs. So that is one big difference between Okinawans and Chinese people. If you were kind of connecting the 2 dots together, which maybe not, because this is quite a hard subject, but food is medicine. So when someone was not balanced, Okinawans knew exactly what recipes to have that unbalanced person eat so that they would feel better and not be sick anymore. So I said this knowledge is quite unknown, so how does someone like me know this at all? Well, my teacher is actually someone you might have seen before. She was in the Netflix documentary How to Live to 100. She is the lady in the red kitchen, but I don't call her the lady in the red kitchen. I call her by her name, which is Miyaguni Sensei. Sensei means teacher, so Miyaguni teacher. So I call her Miyaguni Sensei. Now, when you interview her on the surface, you will probably ask her, as like they did in the Netflix documentary, what do the Okinawans eat to live such a long time? And then she'll give you the basic answers because it's only like a 30-something minute episode, so you can't go too deep, but you give them the answers that people want to hear, right? They ate pork, which is not in the documentary. They ate leafy green vegetables. They ate purple sweet potato, which actually they didn't eat it a whole ton. They actually ate yellow sweet potatoes, which is another misconception. But she gives you the answer that the interviewer wants to hear. But actually, if you get to know her and really look into her knowledge, which I did, you will find that she has a very long and arduous course teaching about Yakuzen, which piqued my interest, and that's why I took the course. And as I took the course, that's when I discovered that she has a treasure trove of knowledge related to the Okinawan diet and how this is all connected and how food is medicine and how to Just go down a rabbit hole. Like, just so much. But in this video today, I gotta keep it simple. So I'm just going to explain something very, very important. Because to do anything at all concerning food as medicine or Yakuzen or traditional Chinese medicine even, is you need to know 3 words. Hot, cold, and neutral. This is the balance that I was talking about earlier. Now we have the words hot, cold, and neutral. Let's put them together into something useful. And it is you add it to a body type. So, what am I talking about? If you are a hot body type, you may have inflammation, irritability, headaches, breakout, just for example. If you're a cold body type, you may have indigestion, bloating, cold hands and feet, fatigue. And what is the goal? The goal is to become neutral or plain, because that means that you are in balance. Now, I may have lost you and you're ready to click away because this is already starting to sound crazy, but wait, I promise I have a tidbit of evidence in science. Please take a look at this graph from the Journal of Agriculture and Food Research. It shows the difference between the Eastern view of food properties and the Western view. Now, if you look at the Western view, I'm sure you recognize a lot of those words. And if you look at the Eastern view, it's actually much more simple and words you would never use when concerning your health. But the Eastern view made it really easy to understand. Now, my question is, how did people thousands of years ago figure this out? And the question you may have for me is, why even learn Yakuzen when you can just learn all the scientific terms and all this other research stuff? Well, I wanted to learn Yakuzen and its connection to the traditional Okinawan diet, but also there is something really important about Yakuzen that we need in the modern day. And that is that Yakuzen is preventative medicine. As you probably know, medicine today is a lot about just masking the symptoms and not really getting to the origin. Like when you take a Tylenol to get rid of a headache, but you didn't get to the origin of why you have a headache in the first place. Yakuzen is preventative medicine, which is something we need to incorporate more into our lifestyle so we can prevent getting sick in the first place. All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this actual video that I promised you in the very beginning. Now, you can't heal yourself, you can't apply any of the concepts in Yakuzen, you can't do anything until you figure out your body type. You need to figure out if you are hot, or cold, or neutral. Test number 1 is what I call the craving test. Have you ever found yourself craving a certain temperature of foods and drinks? So, for example, if you are craving nice big glasses of coffee with tons of ice in it, or very cold salads and cold drinks, cold teas, pretty much cold anything, then you guessed it, you are in a hot body state. On the opposite side, if you're craving hot coffees, hot tea, hot soups, very warm, hot foods, then you are in the cold body state. See, it's easy. The second test is the friend comparison test, but don't worry, you don't need friends necessarily to do this, but you do need other human beings. So let's say you're in an office or a classroom. Look around. Are you the only one who's sweating and needs the AC to be turned down because you are very hot, where everyone around you is perfectly fine? Yep, you might be in the hot body state. Or are you that person that's in a hoodie and very cold and hates it when that one person wants to turn down the AC temperature? That means you're in a cold body state. You see, everyone else around you is probably in a neutral state and they're perfectly fine, and you are the outlier, which means something is going on inside your body. The third test is the food reaction test. So for example, if you're eating spicy food or fried food and you start to feel very uncomfortable and may even start sweating, where the person in front of you is eating the same thing and they're looking at you like, why are you sweating? Then you are very likely in a hot body state. Or do you feel uncomfortable and even get bloated after you eat salads or drink a very cold smoothie? Then this may mean that you are in the cold body state. Please click the like button if you are saying yes to any of these tests, or at least you are relating to any of these tests, so that my video can be spread to more people so it can help them figure out if they are getting sick or not, and so that they can learn about Yakuzen as well. The fourth test is the sleep test. So, for you who is about to go to bed, is your mind feeling restless and you need a fan and the AC on, and you actually may wake up in the middle of the night sweating in your sheets? This is a clear sign that you are in the hot body state? Or do you sleep very deeply, but when you wake up, you feel sluggish, you still feel a little tired, you have stiffness in your joints, and you still want to stay under the covers because they're so warm, even though it is midsummer? You may be a cold body state. The fifth test is the activity level test. Are you super restless, you cannot sit down and relax, and you feel like you constantly need to be moving? This is an indicator that you are in a hot body state. Or, on the other side, you want to lay down and relax, and any minimal amount of physical exertion gets you quite tired and you just don't want to move for the rest of the day, then you might be in a cold body state. And the sixth test is the traditional Yakuzen method of testing if you are in a hot or cold body state. It is the tongue check, the funnest test, I think. Now, keep in mind, this is actually very complicated, but I'm just making it super simple so you can understand on the surface of what a tongue check is. But for example, if the tongue is red with cracks or spots, it may indicate a hot body state. If the tongue has thick white coating on top and is very pale, it may indicate that it's in a cold body state. Now, here is a picture of my tongue. Yeah, kind of weird. You don't often see pictures of tongues, I bet. And now that you've seen a picture of my tongue, please subscribe because this is like really intimate and we're very close now. And you can send me tongue pictures if you want. I can test and look at them and see what your health situation is right now. But please, please, please only send tongue pictures. Thank you. 3 weeks before I took this tongue picture, I had gotten a very bad case of food poisoning. And ever since I had the food poisoning, I was constantly bloated, extremely tired. I was always taking naps right at 3 p.m., not earlier, not later, like right at 3 p.m. I would get extremely tired, take naps, and I was getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep at night, so I thought I was losing my mind. I also had no appetite, I was unable to concentrate, I constantly had cold hands and feet, and I was craving hot coffee, hot tea, hot soups, even though it was September in Okinawa, which is a subtropical island. Do you understand how hot it is here in September? And I was still craving hot coffee and hot tea and hot things. So, can you guess what body type I was? Yes, that one was very easy. I was a cold body type. Once I figured that out, I knew exactly what food and herbal drinks to drink, and I felt so much better within 2 weeks. And you're probably asking yourself, okay, I took the test, I figured out what body state I'm in, what now? You can't just take Tylenol because it's going to do absolutely nothing for you. The goal is to get into a neutral state again. So if you are the hot body type, you need to eat cooling foods. And if you are the cold body type, you need to eat warming foods. For example, here is one of my ingredient cards. It is a pumpkin. A pumpkin is in the warming category. I was in a cold body state, so I, for example, would incorporate pumpkin into my diet to warm my body up. Now, this is just one example of many, many ingredients that would be put into recipes that I would eat. I obviously wouldn't just eat pumpkin. Now, this is a very interesting but embarrassing fact. If I ate kale or Okinawa's representative healthy bitter melon Goya, because you would think, well, kale or bitter melon are super healthy, so why don't you just eat those? It probably is good for you. And I actually tested this on myself, and it went terribly. Why did it go terribly? Well, if we use the knowledge that we know from Yakuzen, which is just the simple hot, cold, neutral, I was in a cold body state. I know that kale and bitter melon are cooling vegetables. So, for example, a worsening symptom that would happen to you is that once someone in a cold body state eats the cooling vegetables, they will get something like diarrhea, for example. Yeah, it happens. So that's why you need to know if something is in the hot or cold or cool or warm or neutral category in order for this to work. A lot of people don't realize this and think they just got diarrhea for who knows what reason and we're just going to ignore it and move along. But actually, if you know the temperature types, you can figure out why. If you like this video, please comment. If you have a body state and you figured it out, please comment and let me know what your body state is. I can give you suggestions. And subscribe if you want to learn more about Yakuzen. And let me leave you with one very fun tip that is completely based off the Yakuzen concepts. Now that we are entering the winter period, it is actually found that pumpkin spice is very good for you in the winter because every single spice in the pumpkin spice mix is in the warming category. That means it naturally warms your body up. So you have full permission to go crazy on everything pumpkin spice flavored.